multi-animator project community, or just more simply known as the map community, is a place where people can come together to create a project too big for a single person to complete on their own. Within this community is boundless creativity and lifelong friendships. Of course, maps would be nothing without the hosts, the people who come up with ideas, organize participants, and help remind them to participate. I've been in the multi-animator project community for a long time, but I only started posting on the YouTube side around 2020. Since then, I've been in over 150 maps. Only 49 of them have reached completion though, all of which you can watch in my finished maps I'm in, finished maps I made, and Dargan's maps playlists. I've also interacted with many map hosts outside of being inside their projects, and clear categories have started to form themselves. So today, I'll be going over the 7 types of map hosts I've encountered in all my years in the community. Just a quick disclaimer, this video is not meant to slander anyone, though I may bring up examples of specific types. If I do, it will only be in a positive context. I shouldn't have to say this, but do not harass anyone mentioned in the video. Now, before we get started, if you're new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. Now, without further ado, let's begin! Type 1, the Rehoster. The Rehoster is an incredibly rare type of host. I've only seen 2 or 3 of them within my many years in the fandom. The Rehoster is someone who, instead of hosting their own maps, mainly rehosts the maps of other people. Some reasons they may do this is a fear that their art isn't good enough to stand on its own, or an innate sense of duty to finish what has been started and not to waste anything. The Rehoster is an incredibly valuable person. Without them, so many people would have spent hours, days, weeks, even months of their time on a project that is never completed. I've had this happen countless times, as I've been in over 150 maps, but only 49 of them have ever been completed. I have had the pleasure of being in maps with a few rehosters, and all of them are wonderful people. They also tend to have a very strong sense of justice, and possibly a bit of a savior complex. Next up, the Once in a Moon. The Once in a Moon host is someone who hosts maps, well, every once in a moon. A prerequisite for someone being a Once in a Moon host is a history of activity which has slowly diminished. They used to be active, but now they're not. Once in a Moon hosts tend to be on the older half of the fandom, from ages 19 to above. Once in a Moon hosts are either in university or have a full-time job. This host is very prone to overplanning. They likely have a Discord server and Google Sheets for keeping track of parts. At least one Discord channel is for cut audio. Once in a Moon hosts tend to take a long time to finish their maps, but make no mistake, their results are often incredibly stunning. On to the mass producer. The mass producer, like the name suggests, is someone who hosts and/or releases a lot of maps. The mass producer often ends up drowning in how many projects they set up for themselves, but other times they shockingly survive. Do not think that just because they mass produce maps, their maps are any less in quality, or it is a bad thing to be a mass producer, because it certainly is not. Mass producers often allow beginners into their maps, making their role in the fandom pivotal. Without places to accept beginners and cultivate them, no one would approve those beginners for future parts because normally need at least a couple of references. Without encouragement, beginners will feel discouraged as well. Mass producers can be incredibly important in the fandom. One mass producer in the fandom you may be familiar with is Saturn Skies. She is known for an incredible variety in fandom maps that she produces, including Marvel, Warrior Cats, DC, Star Wars, and numerous multi-fandom maps. Most of her maps are beginner friendly as well, and he is consistent in finishing every single map that he posts. He currently has over 100 maps finished. I can't tell how many because there is no playlist, and I'm not going to attempt to count, but she once had a mapathon made solely of maps she created to celebrate 100 maps, and I know she's posted countless more since then. If you have some time, go and check out her channel and support all the beginner and more advanced artists that she showcases. Moving on to the Copycat. The Copycat is someone who copies other people's maps ideas. Often they find a new popular map and change out the characters, but have the thumbnail and even the part lengths very similar to original. The Copycat has become very common in the Wings of Fire fandom. I've seen countless projects that are literally just a Warrior Cats map that has gained popularity, except the characters have been changed out. Being inspired by other people is not an issue. Taking the audio and concepts, changing the character, and making an animation is the basis of animation memes. However, animation memes give credit. These copycat maps often don't. I also want to clarify that it's not just the song that makes a map a copycat, it's also the color palette. A few years ago, a map in the Warriors fandom blew up, and someone else besides the original creator made a slew of ones inspired off of that one with the same color palette. These maps, though they were finished, were a bit unpopular and a tad bit controversial in the fandom due to their similarities to the original. I'm not sure whether or not there was credit in the description for the original map, as the copycat was exposed for doing something that wasn't the best and deleted their channel. Most copycats tend to be a bit younger. The phrase monkey see, monkey do rings true in this case. Please do not harass anyone who appears to be a copycat, as some instances of copycats aren't intentional. Using myself as an example, I once created a map idea a few years ago, and after a year or two of development, released it onto my channel. Beforehand, I checked whether any calls had the same idea, and there appeared to be none. However, a few months after creation, someone contacted me showing they had a map call with the same premise, which was posted before mine. I guess I didn't see them because YouTube algorithm doesn't show videos from smaller channels as often, but there certainly was before mine. I showed them that my idea dated back longer than their call was up for, so I wasn't intentionally trying to copy them. We determined that though the concept was similar, the actual maps were different enough that there was no issue. So before you jump to conclusions and call someone a copycat, or just in general before calling someone out, contact them like the other host did. It helps promote goodwill and understanding within the fandom and prevents unnecessary conflicts. Likewise, do not call people out from being copycats even if they are being copycats. Make sure you talk with them first and explain why what they are doing is wrong, because oftentimes people just don't understand. Next, the co-host. The co-host is someone who's never hosted their own map, but has been involved in the creation or hosting of a lot of other people's maps. The co-host often has a small channel, which means that people wouldn't be likely to join their maps. Because of that, they join up with a larger channel in hopes of someone else joining. Other co-hosts simply don't have enough time to run an entire map by themselves. However, despite that, they often end up doing most of the work. The co-host is a very determined person. Even if they can't make a map on their own terms, they want to bring their ideas in the world in some way, or help others bring their own ideas into the world. I really respect this type of map host. Next, the lagger. The lagger is a map host who consistently lags behind in both deadlines and completing projects. The lagger often suffers from getting an idea and making it into a map in the same week. Then, they become bored with the idea, and hence with the map, preventing them from reminding participants to work on their parts, or from answering questions from the willing participants. The lagger often falls into the category of the mass producer, however they are not the same person. Confusingly enough, the lagger may also have active maps at the same time they have inactive ones. This is because they may give up hopes on their lagging map after so much activity has just evaporated, and might want to move on to the next one. However, they fail to realize that they are just putting off reactivating the map for longer, and the longer they wait, the harder it will be to do so. I hate to admit it, but I definitely fall into this category. I have cancelled only 2 maps, but I currently have 4 on the back burner, 2 of which I haven't even posted to this channel, and I abandoned my old one years ago, so I probably should have gotten those up by now. Whoops. And last, but certainly not least, the helper host. The helper host is actually a spin-off of the co-host. The helper host is also a non-official host. The helper host is someone within the map who takes things in their own hands to help get maps done. They are often the ones cutting parts when parts are not pre-cut, and creating designs for one-off characters. The helper host can sometimes come into conflict with the map host, who feels as though their power is being usurped. However, other times, the helper host is friends with the map host, and was simply too shy to ask for a co-host position, so instead they help from the sidelines with none of the title benefits of being an actual host, like kicking people out of the map if they don't finish on deadline, or if they're spamming random things in the chat. I was once in a scenario where the host of a map randomly decided to delete their YouTube channel and the Discord. The helper host for the map stepped up and decided to finish it on their own. Without them, everyone's efforts would have gone to waste. Those were all the map hosts I could think of. Are there any more I missed? Comment them down below. If you are any of these hosts, comment down below as well. I know that I'm pretty much a lagger, and I'm curious what other behaviors people have recognized in themselves. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who have already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I wouldn't have gone here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.